In July 1970, Janis Joplin was booked to play a $15,000 concert in Hawaii. She canceled it. She got on a plane and flew across the Pacific to Texas, to a birthday party for a 60-year-old man who owned a converted gas station on the edge of Austin. On a wooden stage that night, in front of a crowd 10 times bigger than anyone expected, she sang a song she had never recorded. Nobody there knew it. Within a year, that same song would be the #1 record in America. And before she left that stage, she made the old man a promise. 3 months later, she was dead. But here is the part almost nobody knows. The promise was kept anyway, by someone else. Paid for, and this is the detail that will stay with you, by the very song she sang that night. Think about the person who opened the first door for you. What would you fly across an ocean to give them back? This is the story of Janis Joplin and Kenneth Threadgill. And it starts with a bootlegger. Kenneth Threadgill sold illegal liquor during Prohibition. He was a preacher's son, the 9th of 11 children of a traveling Texas minister, and by his early 20s he was running whiskey in a state that had outlawed it. But the real story is what he did the moment the law changed. In December 1933, when Prohibition was repealed, Threadgill was working at an old Gulf gasoline station on North Lamar Boulevard in Austin. He bought the place, and he secured something remarkable, the very first beer license issued in Austin after repeal. The bootlegger became the first legal man in town. He kept the gas pumps running. He sold beer out of coolers. And because he was obsessed with the country singer Jimmie Rodgers, whose yodeling he had learned to imitate as a teenager backstage, impressing Rodgers himself, the gas station slowly filled with music, friends with fiddles, hillbilly blues until 5 in the morning. For 9 years, he didn't even own a key to the front door, because the place never closed. But the moment that tells you who this man really was came in 1948, in a dance hall outside Austin, on a night when the headliner didn't show up. The headliner was Hank Williams. Hank was late. The crowd was restless. So the owner pulled a local singer out of the audience to cover Kenneth Threadgill, the gas station man. He got up with the house band and started singing Lovesick Blues, Hank Williams' own song, and while he was singing it, Hank Williams walked in. Picture that. You are singing the biggest star in country music's signature song, and the man himself walks through the door. Hank came up on stage, finished the show, and afterward the two of them laughed about it together. That was Threadgill, a man so soaked in music that even his accidents became legends. By 1962, his converted gas station had become the strangest and warmest room in Texas. Old-time country players, university students, beatniks and rednecks around one big oak table, one microphone, passed from hand to hand. Performers weren't paid in money. They were paid in 2 rounds of free beer. And one Wednesday night that summer, 2 musicians who played there picked up a 19-year-old girl they'd spotted around Austin, a loud, barefoot art student from Port Arthur who carried an auto harp everywhere she went. They brought her to Threadgill's. She opened her mouth, and the gas station was never the same again. The girl was Janis Joplin, and within weeks she was the reason the place was packed every Wednesday night. She sang Bessie Smith. She sang Black Mountain Blues. She jumped around. She was nothing like the polite folk singers of 1962, nothing like Joan Baez or Judy Collins. And the crowd at the gas station loved her for exactly that. At the end of those nights, a hat was passed through the crowd. Coins, crumpled bills. The hat came back to the oak table. That hat held the first money Janis Joplin ever earned with her voice. Not Columbia Records, not Monterey. A hat in a gas station in Texas. But there is one detail from those nights that tells you more than any other, and it sounds like an insult until you understand it. One night, Kenneth Threadgill offered Janis free beer not to sing. Why would her biggest supporter pay her to stay quiet? Here's why. Threadgill was a performer too. And he had learned the hard way that he did not want to be the man who had to follow her on that microphone. The veteran who had opened for Hank Williams did not want to go on after a 19-year-old girl. That is the highest compliment one singer has ever paid another. At Threadgill's, for the first time in her life, Janis Joplin belonged somewhere. The town that voted her ugliest man on campus was 10 minutes away. But inside the gas station, she was the star. And Kenneth and his wife Mildred treated her like family. She never forgot it. And 8 years later, she would prove exactly how much it meant, at a price of $15,000. July 1970. Janis Joplin is the most famous female rock star in America. She has just finished the Festival Express, the legendary train tour across Canada with the Grateful Dead and the band. She has played Honolulu. She is exhausted at the peak of her fame with a full calendar and a new band and an album to prepare. And then word reaches her, they're throwing a jubilee for Kenneth Threadgill's birthday near Austin. She cancels a $15,000 appearance, that's over $120,000 in today's money, and flies from Hawaii to Texas. The organizers expected 500 people at a barbecue picnic in Oak Hill. Barbecue, beans, and beer. Then word got out that Janis was coming. 500 became 5,000. Some accounts say 8. Cars lined the country roads. A birthday picnic for a tavern owner became one of the biggest gatherings Austin had ever seen, and it would even be entered into the congressional record of the United States. She took the stage with no band, just an acoustic guitar she joked she couldn't tune, hollering for someone to tune it for her, laughing that her band was still in Hawaii. And then she did something nobody in that crowd understood the significance of. She sang a song she had never recorded. The song was Me and Bobby McGee, written by her friend Kris Kristofferson, a songwriter almost nobody in America knew yet. She introduced him to the crowd with a prophecy. He's going to be famous. I give him a year. Hold on to that sentence, because it is about to come true in the most heartbreaking way possible. She sang Sunday Morning Coming Down. She sang Bobby McGee. 5,000 people at a birthday picnic heard the future #1 song in America before the world did, acoustic, unpolished, 3 months before she would record it in a Hollywood studio. And then came the gift. She had carried it from Hawaii. A flower lay. She placed it around Kenneth Threadgill's neck in front of everyone, the biggest star in rock and roll, garlanding the gas station owner who had passed the hat for her when she was 19, and she made him 2 promises that day. The first, she told Kenneth they would be seeing each other much more often from now on. She was coming home more. This Texas, the oak table, the old man's world, was going to be part of her life again. The second promise, almost nobody heard. She quietly promised to get Kenneth Threadgill, the 60-year-old yodeler who had never made a real record, a recording deal. She meant both promises. She kept neither, because 86 days later, John Byrne Cook opened the door of room 105 at the Landmark Hotel, October 4th, 1970. Janis Joplin was gone at 27. Just days before she died, she had finally recorded Me and Bobby McGee at Sunset Sound. In March 1971, it reached #1, only the second posthumous #1 single in American history. Her prophecy about Kristofferson came true almost to the day. I give him a year. The old man in Austin grieved. The accounts say the loss plunged Kenneth into a deep sadness. The girl from the oak table, the one he had paid not to sing, was gone, and so, it seemed, was the promise. But someone had been listening. In 1972, at a festival after-party in Dripping Springs, Texas, Kris Kristofferson heard a 62-year-old man yodel. It was Threadgill, and Kristofferson knew about the promise. Janis's promise. The next month he flew Kenneth Threadgill to Nashville. He booked 4 sessions at Jack Clement's recording studio, professional musicians, a real record. the first of Threadgill's life, and Kristofferson paid for all of it himself. Now, where did that money come from? Kristofferson's fortune in 1972 was built overwhelmingly on the royalties of one song, the song that had made him famous, exactly 1 year after a woman on a Texas stage predicted it would. Me and Bobby McGee. Follow the Circle. She premiered the song at his birthday party. She died before keeping her promise. The song went to #1 because she recorded it. The royalties made Kristofferson rich, and Kristofferson used that money to keep her promise for her. The promise was paid for by the song. She kept it after all. From the other side, Kenneth Threadgill lived another 17 years. He became a beloved recording artist in his 70s. He even appeared in a movie with Willie Nelson, singing on the Honeysuckle Rose soundtrack. Congress had already honored him as the father of Austin country music. The city that would one day call itself the live music capital of the world traces its family tree back to his gas station. He died in 1987 at 77. The original Threadgill's, the old converted gas station on North Lamar, still stands in Austin today. The oak table is long gone, but if you stand in front of that building, you are standing where a hat was once passed through a Wednesday night crowd and came back to a barefoot 19-year-old with the first money her voice ever earned. Everything came from that hat. Monterey, Woodstock, Pearl, and she knew it. That's why the $15,000 meant nothing and the plane ticket meant everything. That's why the lay crossed an ocean. The world remembers Janis Joplin for how she died. Kenneth Threadgill remembered her for how she said thank you. Subscribe. The next story goes somewhere nobody has taken you before.